if you looked at the internet, every public discussion forum was text-based. So the idea that got wedged in my brain that I couldn't dislodge was, what if we could create Twitter or Reddit, but in a way that felt like TikTok, so that you could swipe your way through video conversations?
Hello, everyone. My name is Abhinav Jain, and this is the Real Abhinav Video Experience. On this episode, I talked to Gregg Spiridellis, who is a very talented and creative entrepreneur. He has just started a new social media app called HiHo, and I bet you guys this is going to be the next big thing. Now, Gregg has a track record for being successful as an entrepreneur. He founded JibJab back in the day in '99, and then him and his brother also started StoryBots, which they then sold to Netflix. And finally, they're working on this app called HiHo, which makes it easy for people to have face-to-face conversations in a thread-like format, such as Reddit or Twitter. As you guys know, people get very mean on comments, but when you have to put your face out there, you'd be surprised at how nice people get. Aside from talking about HiHo, I also dig into Gregg's background and how he's dealt with all the stresses and anxiety that come by being a serial entrepreneur. You guys will hear a lot of the same topics that I talk about for general well-being around dealing with mental health and making sure you are at your best self every single day. So you'll hear it from Gregg and verify that I've been telling you guys the same thing all along. So I can't wait for you to listen to this conversation. We had a great time. It was a short, sweet conversation, and I hope to have Gregg back soon. Let's get into this episode. Enjoy. All right, Gregg, thank you so much for being here. I found you on this new exciting app called HiHo. He's the founder and the CEO of this app, which you guys, if you haven't heard of, you know it now. Gregg, how are you today?
I am doing great. I'm excited to be here to talk about HiHo and my journey as an entrepreneur.
Yes. It's so funny because I was using the app. I think I heard about it through Gary Vee. He texted the community, which I'm a part of, and he was like, "Hey, I just posted a question here," and so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna check it out." So I went on there for a couple days and I posted a little bit, and it was really neat because it almost felt to me like what you miss out in the comments section, which is context. Like people just type something and you're like, what do you mean? But you don't get the tone of voice, and you don't get that sort of middle, like the important piece, like the gestures, the facial expressions. You don't get any of that. And so comments can be so misleading, which is something that is very big of a problem, I would say. So tell me a little bit about like, how did this HiHo thing even come to life? Like, tell me
and that. Before we move on, I think that's critical, which is, I think what's absent in social media now, which is so important, is that face-to-face connection. I think not only does it provide context, but it also engenders equity, empathy, and also I think just kindness. Like, it's very easy to be an asshole when you're typing 280 characters into a text box, but when you're like looking at somebody in the face and you're hearing them, I think you connect on a much deeper level. And that's really one of the core, I think, problems with social media that we believe we can fix with the new format that we developed, which is asynchronous threaded video conversations. A lot of mumbo jumbo, but in essence, the ability to have a public discussion, not just in text format like you see on Reddit or Twitter, but to do it in a face-to-face video way that's asynchronous.
And it's quick because, like, imagine if you wanted to reply to someone on YouTube, you'd have to go and make a video, you have to upload it on YouTube, send them a link. Right here, it's just like right on the video, we can thread. So I think that's fascinating.
Built for speed. Absolutely. One of our number one product objectives is speed. It needs to feel, we always say it's got to be moving at the speed of a conversation. Like, I can't be sitting there waiting for a video to upload, going through a whole bunch of different steps. It's like, if I see something that engages me, that I have something of value to add, I can tap reply, I can record, and I'm on my way. So it's great to hear those that those product features are being recognized and appreciated, because I think you really hit two of the those key features. And maybe now is a good time I can take a step back and say, like, where did HiHo come from? So just for some context, I have been building digital media products for over 2 decades now, which is insane. I started with a company called JibJab, which was one of the earliest viral video companies on the internet. We were viral before it was a term. It was we were around for almost 5 years before YouTube even existed. We were, producing videos, mostly animation or pretty much all animation, distributing at over 56K phone wires, which was really fun. Yeah, so we were way back in the day, and the idea there, the thing that really excited us was, wow, like all these gatekeepers. My brother was an artist; he was my co-founder and an animator, and I had just kind of left Wall Street and investment banking in pursuit of doing something entrepreneurial, and I was just fascinated with the idea that anybody with a couple of $1,000s worth of equipment could create something and distribute it all around the world with no gatekeeper. Keep in mind, before the internet, if you were creative, you needed to go into a Viacom or a Disney or a Warner Brothers and pitch your idea and hope some knucklehead creative executive thought it was good enough to invest in. Now all of a sudden, really the barrier to entry was talent. Yeah. And I was just fascinated by that. So I started JibJab with my brother, and we just we were producing and learning along the way. And, we had some breakout hits. Our first was a political satire called This Land Is Your Land. And then it was probably one of the first global viral videos. It was pretty insane. And then we kind of evolved the company to say, once Facebook came around, I was like, wow, we can connect with Facebook and access people's photos. What if we could give them tools to create personalized videos? And so out of that came Elf Yourself and some of the other, basically JibJab, we built a very large subscription business doing personalized videos. But it was always what's happening in technology and how can we leverage those changes to create new forms of entertainment? And I think, that served our next adventure. Mine and my brothers, we started a company called StoryBots, which we saw YouTube, and we had young kids, and we said, oh my God, we can distribute kids content, and the kids content on YouTube had huge audiences, and it was really poor quality stuff. And we said, wow, we can actually create a franchise, distribute it on YouTube, and if we get traction, we can actually produce a full-length series and build what our vision was, Sesame Street for the next generation. And that's exactly what we did. We built a YouTube channel, produced content. We produced a season of our first series called Ask the StoryBots. Netflix picked it up, and then in 2009, we won 7 Emmys for over the years. Yeah, we've had celebrities from Jennifer Garner, Edward Norton, John Legend, all be a part of the show that's on Netflix. And then they bought the company in 2019. And I sold JibJab in 2018. So coming off the heels of those 2 exits, there was one idea that stuck in my head, which was, well, first of all, everyone is becoming a content creator and becoming more comfortable with video as a communication medium. But if you looked at the internet, every public discussion forum was text-based. So the idea that got wedged in my brain that I couldn't dislodge was, what if we could create Twitter or Reddit, but in a way that felt like TikTok? So that you could swipe your way through video conversations. Yeah. And that was kind of the high level idea that kind of got wedged in my brain. It's a good thing as an entrepreneur, you better live with your ideas for a little while in your head before you start working on them, because they're all 7+ year projects. No matter what, you think you're going to start something, flip it in a year, get rich. It's very rare that happens. It does happen, but you got to love what you're going to do. And I thought, what an incredible opportunity to redefine the way people interact with each other in a public forum. Because the thesis was, if people are talking face to face, they're going to be kinder. They're going to be more careful about what they're communicating, because it's you, It's a lot different than when you're, shipping off a tweet. And that's really played out.
I can actually attest to that. So one of the videos I posted on HiHo, I think this one person, this lady somewhere, she replied to me, but then she immediately responded back with a second video saying, hey, I wasn't trying to make fun of you. I was just trying to put my perspective out there. Versus if you go to my TikTok comment section, oh my God, people are saying awful things to me left and right because there's no face, there's no name. It's just a text string, right? And it can be literally whatever. So I mean, you're 100% right. I think that I wonder if there's a way to measure that, like to show that, you know, the factor of kindness has actually increased with video communication versus text. I don't know if there's a way to track that.
Yeah, I think the way we look at it, or the incredible thing that we've seen is there's like no bad content. I mean, we've had tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of videos posted. And I think we've had 4 videos flagged for inappropriate content. Mm-hmm. And even those videos were like, vaccine misinformation or like crypto scam, not anything like, no hate content. I think, when people have to put their face behind what they say, that there's a higher bar for communicating and how you're treating other people. And we just see it. And, Gary Vaynerchuk, who you mentioned, is an investor in the company. And like bringing Gary on early, because it is still early, even like right now, we are just getting ready to start focusing on growth. Gary's got a great community, and we really want like a community that cares, a community that's invested in improving themselves and supporting other people in the community. And so that was very intentional to say, like, let's get the nucleus of this product. Like, let's get that community to help us define the culture of this app and how people treat each other and what types of subjects people talk about. Like, I didn't want to get some political person on and start talking about politics out of the gate. Like, let's meet each other in like constructive areas of interest and like build out from that core. And Gary's community is, as you're a part of it, is just an amazing group of people. It's been awesome to be a host to them, over the past 6 months.
I do wonder, because I use the app, and being totally transparent and honest, it isn't in my repertoire of apps I open every day right now. I want it to be. And a couple of challenges I have is sometimes I open the app and I'm like, okay, I see people asking questions, but what can I put out there? Maybe not as a question, because that's what provokes a response, but what can I put out there that will get other people to add perspectives rather than just asking like, hey, what is your favorite quote of the day? Which is something that I think you responded to mine. And I was like, wait, what a second. The CEO's on this app. This is cool. So I took the opportunity to ask you for a podcast. So that worked for me. But I wonder, like, when you mentioned growth, right? Like, how can I grow my audience on this type of platform? What do you think about that? Can you give some insights?
Yeah. So it's a great point. Right now, there are a few pieces of it, but let's use your example. Like, I think as a content creator right now, the app is very limited utility. What we're about to release, and we haven't talked to anyone publicly about this, is the ability for you as a creator. I'm really excited about this.
I've got a quick favor to ask of you. If you've been enjoying this podcast, I'd really appreciate if you could take 1 minute of your time and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It goes a long way, and I'd really, really, really appreciate it. If you've already done that, thank you again. Please share this episode with someone you know, a friend or family member. Download the episode or share the link, whatever works for you. Now let's get back to it.
So for you as a creator to host conversations with your audience on HiHo, and then basically stitch them and export them to TikTok or Instagram stories.
Oh, cool.
So you can actually now be using HiHo as a way to engage with your fans. And the byproduct of that engagement is content that's easily publishable out to TikTok and Instagram. And so the idea is we want to give creators a way to not only do the engagement side, but to also get the byproduct of like really cool, compelling content that you can share across all social networks. So basically downloadable, stitched content for your hosted conversations.
And it's still synchronous, right? When it's one video plays in the next one. Because right now it's not back and forth in a sense.
Yes. Exactly. Like, so right now you'll be able to if you host a conversation, you can actually, it's sequential, but you'll be able to download all the different nodes. And a lot of those, if you want, you can just publish right from HiHo, or you can put them onto your phone and do an edit right on your phone with multiple videos that are happening in the conversation and create something really cool.
Will you guys get to a point where you would allow users to upload pre-recorded content, or is that something that you're shying away from unintentionally?
It's a really interesting question. I think there's something about right now, and what the debate is that there's something incredibly authentic about opening the camera and talking to it.
Yeah.
And the second we move away from that is the second it becomes more of a produced experience. And so where I think about like TikTok is a place for memes, right? It's about entertainment. It's about production value. It's about entertainment value. Whereas I think the white space for us is as a place for authentic communication. And so what that means is it's not about who can produce the best video. It's about being able to engage with video in a place that's free of judgment and like performance anxiety. So for example, we have no like button, right?
You have no comments, no like button. You can't share video yet.
Exactly. Well, you will be able to share with these new features, but yes, no like button and no comments, because if you want to engage, like open the camera and engage. And I think that elevates the nature of communication between people on our platform. So I could see having the ability to import a piece of media that you are then discussing on the camera, like, hey, here's a tweet as a conversation starter, and maybe you're green screened against that tweet, and you're talking about your perspective on it. But the idea of, say, going offline, producing a really polished piece of media and uploading it, I think it has repercussions for the overall feel.
It'll become like TikTok in a sense.
Become like TikTok, and quite frankly, there already is a TikTok, and I don't. It's not good business to compete with TikTok. It's like any business. Find your opening. Like, try to define what you stand for, what makes you different, and don't be lulled off course by shiny objects.
Stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shiny stuff that gets in the way of that may interfere with what you think you have that's unique and that you're bringing to the world.
The last piece I have, and this is purely for my own curiosity, how do I get more discovered or discoverability on the platform? Because that's something I don't fully understand yet. Because of course there's categories of topics that you guys have. I guess one could go into each topic of interest and start replying to the creators there to show their face more and more. It's almost like and I'm just like kind of thinking about it. Like the more you see someone's face, you'll start to associate with them being like, hey, I see this guy's like face everywhere. Kind of like how you do it in any other platform, right? But that seems to be like the only way of getting more discoverability. But is there something else to it?
Yeah, right now we're super early. So I would say that the best way to drive awareness and discovery on the platform is just frequency of engagement right now. Like that will change with time. Keep in mind, like we're still in what I would say is in our development phase. Is like there are a lot of like features that are very standard features that drive growth that we've intentionally not built yet because we really wanted to make sure we nailed that core interaction. And so we're happier having 100 people a day, or, it's more than that, but like, it's in the hundreds of people a day that we can kind of, feel the patterns and see where things are working and see where things are breaking before we kind of throw more gas onto the fire. So right now, the best way is frequency. I would say in time, discovery will be driven by other things, by algorithms that match people up. So for example, if you're interested in NFTs and you're talking about NFTs, the channels that you see will be NFT related. The people that you see will have expressed an interest in those categories, as well as like the conversation titles. So there's a bunch of stuff like groundwork we're laying on discovery that should help, because right now it's just getting you in front of all the people, because there's it's in the hundreds per day. But with time, it'll be getting you in front of the right people.
So basically you're telling me keep consistent and just post more.
Just post a couple of times a day, find other people who share your interests and start interesting conversations. And that's the best way to get.
Because I've been waiting for this new platform that I can get an advantage on. Gregg.
That's exactly, and honestly, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And like, why I'm doing this interview. It's why I was so excited to see you on the platform. It's like, this is not, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I love Gary Vee. Gary Vee is the whale, right? Gary Vee brings in like the, 10,000 users. But like, what I'm excited about this is a new format. Like every time I've had success in 20 years, when we did JibJab, we were doing viral videos before YouTube existed. When we did Elf Yourself, we were doing personalization before Snapchat came along with filters. Like when we did StoryBots, we saw that we could distribute on YouTube, build a brand, and sell into a bigger platform like Netflix. Like it's always about that, us, back then it was us, meaning me and my brother, creating new forms of entertainment that matched what was happening in technology and in distribution. So what I'm doing now is, this is a platform for folks like you, like creators who can say, really, it's conversational, but it's really a back and forth platform. And now I can use this as a tool to engage with people and then export that content and then create content that can go anywhere. Like that to me is really exciting. It's not the established talent that's going to make the most of this platform. It's going to be folks like you, folks like people, other folks who follow you, who see the opportunity to create new forms of entertainment. That's what excites me. That's my passion. That's like what I've built my career around. It's that, how does technology enable new forms of storytelling? Only this time I'm not the storyteller. I'm saying, here's a platform, here's a tool, go on and build great things, which is an exciting new angle for us.
I think there's a lot of room for creativity on a platform like this. It's like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And this is always the challenge with a new platform. Like when TikTok first was introduced, I was like, I don't want to dance, dude. I don't want to do this like stupid thing to get attention.
Right.
Over time, now I've just like earlier this year, I thought about, okay, I'm going to make content about, I was personally at a place where, I was, I'm an engineer by trade. I work in the tech industry, but then I moved over to more business side of the house where I'm talking to customers because this is what I like to do. It's like to engage with people, managing clients and things like that. And I'm doing fairly well in my career, but then I realized I always wanted to help other people and used to be a bodybuilder as a teenager and in my early 20s. And then got into like a very dark place mentally, like with a lot of anxiety and depression, which I guess is more common than I realized at that point in my life. And once I started to get better, I was like, okay, I think there's something to talk about here. And there's others that I can help with. I also looked into, I started smoking weed at the time because it's very popular. I'm in California. You're in Colorado, I believe, right?
Just moved from LA in December.
So both places have a huge culture of cannabis, right? And today it's so actively talked about and it's very popular. But the challenge is that we don't know the long-term effects and we don't understand what it's like for younger people. Like now I started doing this when I was 26 or 25. But what I'm finding out now is young kids from like 10 to 13 to 16, hitting these vape pens, which are so potent because they're like at home, COVID really screwed up a lot of people's lifestyle. And so I started making content about saying like, hey, if you're, under 25 and you're smoking weed every day and you're starting to feel anxious and depressed and you want to make a change in your life, let's talk. And I then made those videos that started to take off on TikTok to create a Discord community. And now we have over almost 500 people there that have just come simply because they're like, yeah, that's exactly my problem. I'm like hooked on this. I can't enjoy life unless I smoke weed. I want more out of my life. And I'm trying to facilitate a community where we can see that there's a possibility outside of like the narrow perspective that we can get into. And the reason I'm talking to you about this is, from your story, it sounds like you've had a lot of success. Obviously, you have. But there's got to be times in that where you were feeling low, where you were in places where things weren't looking so good. And I'm curious, like, how do you, as someone who's a successful serial entrepreneur, keep yourself in a good place? Like, what are your routines and rituals like to do that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, kudos to you for building that community because it is so important. I'm a father of a 15-year-old, 13-year-old, and 11-year-old, and I see it, and I see ads on TikTok, like advertising vape pens to my 13-year-old daughter. Like it's really bad, and I think there is a lot of science behind the fact that, that you can do some real long-term damage if you're using marijuana in those early developmental years. Like clearly, like I have no judgment. Like you said, I'm in LA, I'm in Colorado. Like if you're an adult and, instead of having a vodka, after dinner, you like smoke a joint, like more power to you, like no judgment. But I do think, especially as it relates to teens and managing anxiety, because it's a different world than when I grew up, and I see it. The pressure to perform, the pressure to get into a great college. It's and also just the pressure of social media. We saw it this week with the announcements that there was a bunch of research done at Facebook that like 1 in 3 girls have attribute serious like body image issues to their use of Instagram. I mean, it is a different and a tougher world. And so kudos to you on that front. For me, and bear with me a second, I'm just going to plug in.
All good. We need you on, Gregg. We can't lose you.
Yeah.
We're just getting to the meat.
The meat. So, for me, honestly, like I'm very regimented about, my routine and just making sure I'm carving out time for my own personal well-being. So, every morning I have a routine that involves reading. I read for 15 minutes, simple. But like I find if I don't do it, then I find myself never reading because I'm always kind of tackling the next to do. Yeah. And reading, I think, is just so important for expanding your horizon. So I read. I meditate. So I use a program called Waking Up. It's Sam Harris program. It's awesome.
It's awesome. I know about this.
Yeah. Yes. So I do the Sam Harris program. I journal every morning, and I read my prior year's journals every morning. So can
you talk about that process, the journaling, a little bit? Like, what does that entail?
Sure.
You don't have to give us the details, but I want to take another quick moment to thank our sponsors, Podcast Backdrops. If you do any kind of video content or pictures online, or you're doing any sort of selling over Zoom calls, you really need to check them out because it will make you look professional from the get-go. Having your brand, your logo, and what you're all about behind you, hiding all your clutter, makes you look so much more professional when you put yourself out there on the internet. So check out Podcast Backdrops if you want to level up your game.
Oh, no. I mean, I won't spill out like my deepest, darkest, Dear Diary secrets, but it's literally, it's like 5 minutes, and I usually will do it in bed after I've meditated. I'll just take out my phone and I'll write. It usually winds up being like 150 to 250 words. I don't put a lot of pressure on it. Some days I'll talk about what happened the day before tactically. Some days I'll talk about a challenge I'm having. Some days I'll talk about something I've observed with my kids. It really depends. It's very spontaneous, but it's just a way for me to kind of like get out something that's kind of inside. And like some days it'll be 100 words, and some days I'll go on and on. But it's very free form. And then I'll keep a log of it. And so right now I've got like over 5 years of daily journal entries. And so like today, which is September 23rd, I'll go back and I'll read September 23rd, 2020, 2019, 2018. Wow. And it takes a little bit of discipline, right? Because you have to really, you have to but not that much, just a little bit of discipline. It sets you up. And then you go back and you start to see the patterns in your life, and you see the patterns in your thinking, and you go, man, I was like so worked up over this stupid ass thing.
So true.
And so it's a great way for me to kind of get off my chest whatever's going on right now, but then also to like go back and to have that pattern recognition that almost always lets me know, don't sweat it. Like what's going on right now has been going on, and you're still here, and you got over it then, and you'll get over it now. And this other thing you're dealing with is very similar to something that happened a few years ago. And, so I think for pattern recognition, it's really great. And then, one other thing, just like, when you're an entrepreneur, you have basically opted into a life of anxiety. There's a really great cartoon by Gaping Void. If you want to like look it up and put it on the screen while I'm describing it, it basically is a square, and it's got, it's a cartoon panel, and it's got like 6 squares, 3 lines of 6 squares. And it's basically one character going, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. And then one of the squares will say, hell yeah. And then it'll be, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, hell yeah. And it's titled My Life as an Entrepreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur, you've kind of opted into a life of anxiety. And so with age, I've gotten better at not letting the lows get me as low or the highs getting me as high. And then just to realize, like, if it's bad, tomorrow's another day. And if it's great, don't worry, there's a pile of shit waiting for you sometime next week. So, you kind of deal.
For me, journaling, or just, I used to call when I was very anxious, like Post-it note thoughts, where I would just write on a piece of paper, because I realized when your mind is going very fast and you start writing, you slow down that process, because you can't write as fast as you can think. And when you have so many thoughts, it's a good way of organizing your thought process a little bit. And everything you mentioned, I think you said it beautifully. So I think there's a lot of power in that. I'm curious, do you do any like exercising on a regular basis as well?
Yes. And before I answer the exercise question, one other thing, one recommendation, two books I would recommend. One is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. It's basically a book on stoicism, but just it literally is the book I turn to when things are horrible. Like, and I've reread it many, many times, but it's a reminder that, like, it's by pushing through these obstacles that you grow, that you become a better person. And like, if you think about the things you're most proud of, it usually took an obstacle to kind of to bring that out. So I would say obstacles away for anyone who's kind of facing anxiety or challenges. And then the other one is for anyone who's a creator, who's really trying to push through. There's a book called The War of Art.
I knew you were going to say that. I just finished that book like yesterday.
Yeah.
Man.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Stephen Pressfield. Just absolutely, like, it's a Bible. And there's one more called Orbiting the Giant Hairball, but I think it's out of print. But anyway, those are my those are my book advices. And then with exercise, I try to be good at it. I would say, like, exercise in nature. I moved from LA to Boulder in December. I've been kind of hopping around Airbnbs. I just got settled into my new house. I have a tonal. When I was in LA and I had a tonal, I used that thing every day. I loved it. Like, it was easy. It gave me metrics to let me know I was getting my job done. So yes, when I work out, I feel 100% better mentally. And then the other thing is nature. Like, I moved to Boulder, Colorado. I'm like 3 blocks from the trail system. Like, I love getting out into nature and walking and just thinking. So
now, Gregg, you're an entrepreneur that has to work very hard. I don't see you as the guy that's like chugging energy drinks and coffee all day. I can just tell you're not that person. Can you give us some background into how you keep your energy levels consistent? Is it the routine? Is there something else more to it to make sure that you can manage the day-to-day, in the best way you can?
Yeah, I think it's really, for me, it's all about that routine. So I will tell you, like, my partner, she makes fun of me all the time. Like, I live my life on Trello, right? Like, I have my to-dos. And so basically I have repeated to-dos that show up every day. Read, meditate, work out. I play drums as well.
I'm a drummer too. I knew there was something about you, Gregg. Yeah. Damn it. I knew there was something about you.
I play drums very poorly, but like drum practice and I forget what the other one was, reading or whatever. I missed it. So like, I like to check those things off during my day. I like that sense of accomplishment. So I think, like, just being organized about what it is I try to get done every day keeps me focused and, and feeling good
keeps
about
that nagging
about
voice
my work.
away, right? And
it's like what have I done today? I can tell you because I've archived those cards on Trello.
It almost feels like that. And almost feels like, when everything is grabbing for your attention, you're like, I've taken care of the things that are important for my well-being. And for me to stay my best self. And I think there's so much power in that. And I'm really hoping part of this, I created this program that I'm looking to launch to this group, the Discord group, about things that I've learned. And everything you said is a part of that program. This is daily meditation, journaling, exercising, nutrition, sleep.
Nutrition, yes. Nutrition, we didn't even talk. Yes.
Right. Like, well, I mean, I was trying to get to that with not having energy drinks and stuff, because that's not nutrition. That means you have poor nutrition. That's why you need all those energy drinks to go. Right. Yeah.
So I'm working on both of those things. Like, nutrition wise, I try to, I do intermittent fasting, the fancy like brand term for skipping breakfast. I always find it's like, I'm an intermittent faster. So what does that mean? I just don't eat breakfast.
Yeah. That's funny.
So intermittent fasting and sleep is a challenge for me, but I think it's, I'm working on it. I've got my 8 sleep bed now, and I'm trying to get some metrics around.
You got to meditate before bed then, Gregg. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, maybe that's what I need to do, because I'm doing it in the morning. Bed. Okay, journaling before bed. That's interesting. Maybe
because you got to get whatever's going in here to pitch away, and so you can sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also there are different approaches to journaling, obviously, but I know another approach is something called morning papers, which some people swear by, which is they will literally wake up and they will set a time limit. Say it's 10 minutes, say it's 15 minutes. So it's like time box, and and you just write. And the goal is you don't stop. And if you can't think of anything, you say, I can't think of anything to write. Yeah. And you write and you write and you write, and then you crumple up the paper and you throw it away. But it's that purging. You know what I mean? It's that purging value of there's no performance pressure. The value of what I'm writing has no long-term consequence. It's just about the purge. And then you literally throw away the paper. And I know some people who have had really great success with that as a way to kind of kick off their day and get anything out that's kind of stuck inside them. But I'm gonna start some nighttime meditation.
I want to hear how this goes.
I will let you know.
I'm gonna email you.
I'll let you know. On HiHo, hit me up on HiHo, man. Write me on at the end of give me a week and hit me up on HiHo. And then the other thing is with your Discord community, and I don't know if it's private or if it's open. So some of the things you're talking about are amazing. And I think when people tell their stories of dealing with anxiety, what we're doing in video, it just creates so much more empathy and connection. And it might be a higher hurdle to say, I'm willing to kind of put my face out there and talk about this. Yeah. But if you do, some of the best moments on HiHo are people who have exposed incredible vulnerabilities. And then to see other people it's a catalyst for other people, supporting, but also sharing their own experiences. So we're going to be doing a lot more with channels, and the ability to make invite-only channels, I'm hoping, is going to, because everything is public right now, the ability to do private channels, which is on our roadmap for this year, so that you could invite your Discord community to a private channel and say, hey, this is a closed space where we can talk about these issues. Yes. Or do an apply to join channel where someone has to submit a video to you, I want to talk about anxiety and here's why, and then you can accept them. So you create a more curated community where people feel more comfortable being vulnerable. I think is really important for our product. That. And yeah.
That's a great feature. I think you guys should definitely put that in. I know, Gregg, you have some short on time probably at this point. So, look, I could talk to you forever. You're a drummer we can get on for days.
Yes.
I want to just say thank you so much for just taking this time this morning to get on this call with me. I think I can see from the work you've done and just talking to you that you are well intended. You're not out there just to get people to be on a social media app that's not good for them, which is hard to say about some of the other ones that have evolved in that pattern. So I would love to just keep in touch with you, Gregg, and would love to have you back on maybe in a few months once HiHo is taken on to level 2, level 3. And keep the dialogue going and just maybe have you influence me in other ways and keep in touch with another person who's found a lot of success taking care of themselves. And that's obviously, I'm sure that's a big attribution to your success in business.
I think I wish that I was as in tune with that at your age as you are. Honestly, it took a lot of pain and suffering to kind of prioritize these things. And again, kudos to you for bringing that message to other people who are suffering from anxiety or looking for ways to kind of live healthier, more productive lives. So good on you. And I would love to stay in touch,
Thank you. Awesome. Folks, check out HiHo. We'll link everything about this podcast in the description. Gregg, thank you so much for being here. We'll catch you next time.
Great chat, man.
Bye.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for checking out this show. I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to hear from you. If you want to give me any feedback or want to get in touch, know someone that I should put on the show, reach out to me on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever you are online. You bet you can find me there. Just search for The Real Abhinav. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.